These Commissioning the Future workshop materials are intended to start a new conversation between service users, carers, providers and commissioners of services. What we hope they offer is an opportunity for everybody involved to rehearse the issues they're facing, but to do it outside the context of their day-to-day agreements, disagreements and challenges. We hope people can play slightly different roles from the ones they usually play in life, even if it's from the same territory. This should help to get away from any current conflicts towards a more collaborative way of working together, listening to what service users want, what carers need, and with providers and commissioners understanding each other's perspectives more fully. Do think carefully in advance about choosing your participants. Especially pay attention to how you're going to ensure that service users and carers are taking part.
If you don't have the people that it's all about in the room, I think it's very easy to forget the real purpose.
Use the notes that have been provided, as they will give you a steer, particularly on 2 points. One is whether people are going to play their own role or whether they're going to play a different role. And the other is whether you're going to double up so that people have a backup during the role play. All this is explained in the notes.
The only advice I give to anybody wanting to come to this is be prepared to listen and respect opinions that you don't necessarily agree with, but also you have to have your own view and be prepared to give it and just develop trust with the people who are there.
I hope that having parent carers represented obviously would ensure their voice was heard. At the end of the day, it's hard to know how much their views can influence what happens.
It was interesting to have so many different roles around the table. I'm not sure that we always have all of those, and so going forward it will help us to think about who needs to be there and who we need to engage with in different ways.
Dr. Chandler. I'm the CCG designated lead for learning disabilities, working with Andrews, and I have to take you to task, Andrew. I'm not into finance, obviously, and you're talking about all these percentages. Can we discuss the real numbers here so we all understand where we're coming from?
The roles we've provided have got 2 things in mind. One is to help people distance from their actual work, but they're also intended to be recognisable kind of characters. On the other hand, they are a bit of a caricature sometimes, so don't feel tied to them, but do start with using the role and then use your own knowledge and experience to make it really work. It's relying on you using the kind of starter of the materials, but then being yourselves to some extent. But it's just an attempt to create a meeting that has got a little bit of something in it that might get things going.
The role was quite challenging because I wasn't really sure what clinical commissioning groups do, but luckily Andrew led me through how he expected us to interact.
It was interesting, actually. It's a role that I interact with in my day job, but obviously isn't my own role, so it was interesting to be on the other side. I found that in playing the role I took quite a defensive position from the point of view of I have challenges and you're not supporting me with those challenges, therefore why would I want to work with you? And so that's going to be useful going forward to think about.
Make sure you've got a really suitable room that's accessible for everyone, whatever their mobility. If you're just doing single numbers, then it has to have enough room for everyone to sit comfortably around the table and to have some breakout discussions in 2s and 3s. If you're using the model that has 2 people for each role, then you need to allow space for that as well. So think carefully ahead of time about what you're going to do. Several of the exercises involve Flipchart notes, so we found it works best if you try and keep them short and sharp. Keep it to a minimum if you can. There's background information for each of the scenarios, and we recommend that you allow time during the preparatory part of the session for people to read that through, to familiarise themselves at the start. Remember to check whether any participants need the information in particular formats or need other communication support.
First on the agenda is the welcome and introductions.
In the exercises where you prepare the agenda during the session, then do try and keep it fairly tight. It will help the chair immensely if it's not overloaded. On the other hand, if the agenda's provided in the pack, then do use it, as it's intended to help you ensure everyone participates, including people who use services. We found it works best if after the preparatory work you allow a short break before going into the main role play of the meeting.
I think if you speak to the people who are in our services, they might have a very different view.
I think it's fair to say that those two views are not as polar opposite as they might seem.
If you're the person who ends up chairing the role play meeting, then don't forget to use all your usual skills in chairing meetings. Keep it focused, keep it moving along, and so on.
Okay, that nicely moves into one of the cues that people raise about this idea of diverse. Yeah, they're not easy to chair. Give yourself plenty of time. Don't have quite big of agenda as I had, possibly. But like any meeting, it's about ensuring you're clear about what you want the outcomes of the meeting to be, but then facilitate it to make sure that everybody gets a chance to contribute.
Playing the role as chair it was good. It was quite challenging. Had to keep thinking all the time, and I was quite surprised by the variety of responses from the different players coming back at me. But in essence, it's reflecting the conversations we've had with all those types of organisations over recent months.
While the role play meeting's going on, if you're the facilitator, do feel that you can intervene if it feels as if it's going off in the wrong direction, or if people are really struggling with the agenda and the discussion.
I thought it was quite hard, actually, this role, because you're representing a number of different viewpoints.
I thought it was really useful, and I think everyone played their roles really well. Gave me and played their roles because I'm a provider. In a way that gave me an insight into the way they see us as providers, which I thought was really interesting.
We found in the piloting that it was helpful to allow a short opportunity after the main role play meeting to let people get out of role and be themselves again, so that they're separated from the roles they've been playing.